السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد. So a couple of weeks ago we had Seerah Khatam Nabeen Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where we ended the 4th year of Hijri, and we talked about the marriage of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to two of the widows of the Battle of Uhud, namely Zainab bint Khuzaymah radiallahu anha and Salama radiallahu anha. And Zainab radiallahu anha was married to Abdullah ibn Jahsh radiallahu anh, who was martyred in the Battle of Uhud. Also Abu Salama radiallahu anh, who was also injured in the Battle of Uhud, and then later on, because of those injuries, he also died from those injuries. So we talked about how the Prophet ﷺ married them, and we talked about the dua of Salama radiallahu anha that we learn, where she says whenever a musibah afflicts someone, then you do istirja', say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, and then you make dua, Allahumma ajurni fi musibati wa akhlifni khayran minha. So make that dua that, oh Allah, give me ajr for this musibah that I have been afflicted with, and give me something that was better than before. And we talk about how Salama radiallahu anha mentions that when I made the dua, because it's from the sunnah of the Prophet, she made the dua, but she was thinking to herself that who can be better than Abu Salama radiallahu anh? Who can be a better husband than Abu Salama radiallahu anh? And we know that later on the Prophet himself proposes to Salama radiallahu anha, and she becomes one of the Ummahatul Mu'mineen. So she realized the dua, the acceptance of dua, and she realized that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had indeed given her a better husband than her former husband, Abu Salama radiallahu anh, and that was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. So continuing on, in the 5th year of Hijri, there was one expedition that took place, one ghazwa that took place in Rabi'ul Awwal of the 5th year of Hijri, and this is called the expedition or ghazwa of Dawmatul Jandal, which is to the north of Medina Munawwara, close to Syria. So it's about 15 days journey at that time, 15 days journey to north of Medina, and about 5 days journey south of Syria, of Sham. So in that area they were given news came to Medina Munawwara that they were getting ready to attack the Muslims, and at that time the Prophet ﷺ went out with the Sahaba, and again the kuffar were filled with fear and did not dare attack the Prophet ﷺ or stand in the battle with against the Prophet ﷺ. So they actually all ran away. So the Prophet ﷺ stayed there for a few days, made some treaties with the local tribes, and then came back to Medina Munawwara. Another significant incident or expedition that happened, this is in Sha'ban of the 5th year of Hijri. Okay, the Sha'ban of the 5th year of Hijri, just a few months after Rabi'ul Awwal, where it's called the Ghazwa of Banu Mustaliq or Muraysi'. Muraysi' is basically in a well, okay, where Banu Khaza'a tribe is the larger tribe, and then one of the clans of that tribe is the Banu Mustaliq, where they would live, and they were amassing an army to attack the Prophet ﷺ. So this news reached Medina Munawwara that the leader of the tribe, Harith ibn Abi Dirar, he was forming an army to attack the Prophet ﷺ. So Rasulullah ﷺ sent Burayda ibn Husayb al-Aslami radiallahu anh to go and confirm the news, confirm the intelligence. So he went, he confirmed that it is authentic, the intelligence is correct, and they were indeed preparing to attack the Muslims. So the Sahaba were ordered to prepare for battle, and they got ready for battle. Rasulullah ﷺ appointed Zayd ibn Haritha radiallahu anh, his adopted son. He appointed him as the Naib, or the representative, in his place to take care of Medina Munawwara, the affairs of Medina Munawwara. And from the Azwaj Mutahhara, the Prophet ﷺ took Salama radiallahu anha and Aisha radiallahu anha. And up to this point, the Prophet ﷺ had married a total of 6 wives. 2 of them had passed away. So the ones that had passed away was Khadija radiallahu anha, and we talked about Zainab bin Khuzaymah radiallahu anha, the one we talked about last class, that she remained as the wife of the Prophet ﷺ for about 6 to 8 months. So she passed away soon after the marriage. So two of them had passed away, and there was 4 of them remaining, and these are Sauda radiallahu anha, Sauda bint Zam'a radiallahu anha, Aisha bint Abi Bakr radiallahu anha, Hafsa bint Umar radiallahu anha, and Salama radiallahu anha. Okay, so these radiallahu anhunna ajma'in, these are the wives of the Prophet ﷺ up to this point. Now, the 2nd of Sha'ban, in the 5th year of the Hijri, they left Medina Munawwara towards Muraysi', towards the tribe of Banu Mustaliq. And when they arrived there, there was a little bit of fighting that took place. They shot some arrows, and then the Muslims attacked. And when they attacked, the kuffar ran in all directions, and they were defeated. So the Muslims took 2,000 camels as ghanima, as spoils of war, and 5,000 goats were taken. Also 200 families from Banu Mustaliq, from that tribe, were taken as prisoners. Now one of the captives was the daughter of the leader, Harith ibn Abi Durar. His own daughter, Juwayriyah radiallahu anha, she later becomes Muslim, she was actually one of the captives. So she was not Muslim at this time, but she was one of the captives, and she fell in the lot of Thabit ibn Qais radiallahu anhu. Thabit ibn Qais radiallahu anhu was he basically set a price, mukataba. Mukataba is when you own a slave and you basically make a deal with them that if you pay this much amount of money, then you will be set free. So he set a price for her freedom, and Juwayriyah, at that point, not having any wealth, she came and she basically approached the Prophet ﷺ to help her in paying off the mukataba so that she can become free. Now the Prophet ﷺ, he was also approached by Harith ibn Abi Durar. So Harith ibn Abi Durar, when the fighting took place, he actually took off. He ran off, and he was not taken as a captive. Later on, he brought many camels to set his daughter free. And when he was coming, it's in the riwayah that he actually took 2 of the best of the camels. He got greedy, so he was going to take his daughter and ransom her, basically buy her freedom. And he got greedy, so he took 2 of the camels and hid them behind a mountain pass. He hid them, tied them to a mountain pass, and then he comes to the Prophet ﷺ while they're still positioned and stationed in Banu Mustaliq or Muraysi' at the well. And he comes forth, and he wants to buy the freedom of his daughter. Now Rasulullah ﷺ, being Rasulullah ﷺ and getting the wahi, he actually informs him, what about those 2 camels that you have hid behind the mountain pass? And Harith at this point realizes that this can be known by no one except a prophet of Allah. So he accepts Islam. He says that I hid those and no one saw me, no one knew about those 2 camels except myself. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must have informed you, and he actually becomes Muslim. Now Rasulullah ﷺ, regarding the daughter, when he asks that the daughter is released, the Prophet ﷺ says, why don't we leave the choice to her? So he leaves the choice to her. They bring Juwayriyah radiallahu anha, and the Prophet ﷺ says to her that, what if I give you a deal that is better than your mukataba, basically better than setting you free? What if I pay your ransom, I pay your mukataba, and you marry me, and you marry the Prophet ﷺ? What do you think about that? And she agrees. She said, I would stay with the Prophet ﷺ. I would like to become a wife of the Prophet ﷺ. So Rasulullah ﷺ does that, and she is freed, and she becomes a wife of one of the Ummahatul Mu'mineen. She becomes one of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. Again, going back to what I was saying last time, is that the Prophet ﷺ, whenever he would marry someone, it wasn't for personal gain or anything like that, but it was for basically for a greater good. And one of the reasons here is that you have this huge tribe that was caught, and they were fighting against the Muslims. The father has become Muslim, and now there's a chance here where through the Prophet ﷺ marrying the daughter, they can also become Muslims. So, and that's actually what happened when the Sahaba learned that the Prophet ﷺ had married Juwayriyah radiallahu anha. They actually freed all of their captives. Okay, they freed all of their captives, and they basically said that how can we keep in-laws of the Prophet ﷺ as our captives? So we free them all. They free them all for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they became Muslim. So this whole tribe became Muslim through Juwayriyah radiallahu anha. And Aisha radiallahu anha, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, she actually reflects upon this or comments about this. She says, I have never seen anyone more beneficial to her relatives than Juwayriyah bint Harith radiallahu anha, radiallahu anhuma, because the father was also Muslim. And she says that I have never seen anyone who was more beneficial to their in-laws than Juwayriyah radiallahu anha, because the entire tribe became Muslim after this incident. So we'll stop there inshallah ta'ala, and what we're going to do is next week inshallah we'll talk about what happened at Muraysi'. While they were stationed there, there was some scuffle or some argument and fight that broke out between the Muhajirin and the Ansar, and the hypocrites who had joined the Muslims in large numbers in this battle, being greedy for the spoils, knowing that the Muslims were coming out in a large number. The Muslims were actually 1,000 in number. Sahaba were 1,000 in number, and they were going to fight Banu Mustaliq. So the hypocrites knew that we're going to be able to win easily. So they actually came out in large numbers with the Prophet ﷺ. So we'll learn inshallah next week what kind of fitna they caused and what kind of words Abdullah ibn Ubay, the leader of the hypocrites, what he said and what happened after that inshallah. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.